We are live. Hello, hello, hello to all of my subscribers and non-subscribers that are tuning in to this video. If you're not a subscriber, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Tonight, I have with me D. Darrell. This is our second time doing a video together. Whoop,
Right.
whoop. And if you haven't seen the first video, go and check it out. It's the part two from men why Black women aren't getting married. And for those that didn't see it, D. Darrell, go ahead and tell us about your channel and where they can find you.
Okay. So again, my name is D Darrell. I have several channels, but my main channel is D Darrell the Rebirth, which focuses on issues as it relates to in Black YouTube per se. It kind of covers the gambit in various areas of YouTube, current topics, and so forth. I also have a professional channel that most people know me by, which is D Darrell the Life Solutions, which is strictly therapeutic, strictly within the realm of psychology and counseling that focuses on relationships, or focuses on mental health per se. I also have decided to increase some other content as far as focusing on.
Oh, hold up. My bad. I
Okay,
was,
you got it.
yeah, I was getting some feedback because I was sharing the link to my Facebook. I'm sorry. Go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. I also focus on things in regards to business, as far as operating a healthcare facility, agency, private practice. Also, I've been getting a lot of good views on speaking on things as far as getting government funding, such as the PPP loans, EIDL loans, and things like that. That's the primary things that I've been doing on that channel. And I also have the Sectors TV that focuses on the pro Black sector in regards to issues such as with things for as school funding, religion, just different theological things of that sort within the Black church sector. So those are my three main channels. You can check them out: D Darrell Life Solutions, D Darrell the Rebirth, and the Sectors TV. If you check me out in the algorithm, it'll show everything in there. For those that would like to know, you'll see something with an emblem with me in it, or my name in the title. So yeah, but for the most part, that's pretty much my YouTube presence. I've been on YouTube as far as a content creator since 2017, and I've been watching YouTube as far as consistently since 2015.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna jump right into it. I well, of course, I went to my girl India. She couldn't join us today. My nail tech. We always get into deep conversations, and we were discussing like Black mothers and how even unintentionally um the parenting practices that was passed down to them can sometimes be toxic. And it's no secret that the Black community has been long regarded as a complicated map of dysfunction.
Right.
Um, and we are battling a silent issue because it's more common than not. The treatment of Black daughters and how they receive this, and I won't even say horrible because a lot of people aren't even aware. They just think that it's the norm.
Right.
And they receive this treatment at the hands of their Black mothers. So, I wanted to discuss how the Black community shields and protects mothers and grandmothers because not all the time are we raised by our mothers. Some of us have been raised by our grandmothers, and how our community tends to turn a blind eye to the way that daughters and granddaughters are treated, yet they excuse a lot of the behaviors of sons and grandsons, no matter how trifling the behaviors are.
That's
And this
true.
isn't a this isn't a video to like harp on or tear down Black men, but that's just what it is. So what are your thoughts on that?
I want to say that I definitely concur with everything that you're stating. On my Life Solutions channel, I kind of talk about the family dynamic associated within the Black community, the pathology of the sickness of how the Black community has evolved over time uh, due to the effects of slavery, and how there are a lot of things that have been passed on from one generation, and we have failed to correct certain things. One of the reasons why, as African Americans, we have been generalized for being staunch, um, uh, let's say, users of corporal punishment, harsh language, things of that aggressive. Those are remnants of slavery. Those are remnants of how to discipline, and so forth. And I deal with that a lot is within my field of work, as far as dealing with that a lot, because a lot of Black people in our community overdo things in which it causes a CPS case, a child protective foster care, and so forth. And
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know any better because that's the way they were raised. We typically raise our children the way we were raised for the most part. Now we may take out or add certain things that we didn't agree with our parents doing, but for the most part, 80% of what we do is kind of very similar to what our parents. And in the African American community, due to the increase in the last 50, 60 years as it relates to broken families, it
Yeah.
has put a lot of pressure on a lot of Black women, single Black women, and in response of that the inability to cope and overworked, overstressed, you're going to see their parental strategies are more aggressive. They're attempting to overcompensate for the lack of men being in the home, so they feel like I have to take on that masculine role. Unfortunately, when they attempt to take on that masculine role, you're still a woman, you're still a female, and it comes out in a certain way. And like you talked about, um, biggest things that I deal with is verbal abuse, which is also linked to emotional abuse, and then
Yes.
also the fact that physical abuse that goes along with it. They kind of triangulate with one another, and so I do agree with that in the Black community, because of the position that Black women are placed in. And I also want to say also, this is also associated within the church and in other community organizations. We overlook and tend to turn a blind eye to some of the things that Black mothers do that actually has a negative effect on the children, particularly Black females. One of the biggest things that I think that disrupts us as a community is the fact that, and you also mentioned this, is the fact that there seems to be an over discipline of Black females, and then there's lackadaisical supervision of Black males,
Yeah.
and that's a recipe. Um, that's a recipe for disaster, because what we're doing is what we see now is where we see Black women are are actually functioning in certain areas at a higher percentage, particularly in colleges and universities and in other industries. And part of that is because um they they're overcompensating based on the fact that they were disciplined at a more stronger rate, and the males are going sideways because they don't have enough discipline to actually interact and be involved in positive activity. So there's a big disconnect there. Um, and again, the person who's there, and I'm not gonna just say, it's a difficult job. Being a mother is a difficult job. That's not an
Yes.
easy job. So, but when you don't have help and you're trying to overcompensate for the lack of masculinity in the home, you're going to have a tendency to do things out of bound, and it can have negative effects, particularly to your to Black to the Black daughters that you have, because you're going to do and say things. You're going to have expectations of your children that, to me, is not necessarily relative to what they should be doing at their age and to their maturity level.
Yeah, and I've had to have those little self talks when it came to discipline, because when my children were younger, I'll be the first to admit I used to whoop my children. Um, and I know like people use the excuse, oh, they need an ass whooping and all that, but
Right.
they're 11 and 12 now. So they're at the age where you can talk to them and they'll understand. Um, but I started realizing that like, okay, I'm whooping their ass and the behavior is not changing. And it's scientifically been proven that corporal punishment is not an effective way of parenting. And Black women are two times more likely to resort to corporal punishment than white or Latino parents,
Right.
women.
Right. Right.
Um, and it's not working. It's just creating a lot of abuse and like an emotional downward spiral for the next generation that's coming up under us.
Right, 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 right. And one of the reasons that and this is something that's been studied for years, corporal punishment, um particularly when you look at it being used exclusively and nothing else, it actually teaches children to respond in violent manner whenever they're in a conflictual situation. And typically what I teach parents is that even though it is legal to spank your children, it is legal to do that. But unfortunately, parents that do practice corporal punishment, they practice corporal punishment out of anger and out of emotion. And what happens is that when you practice corporal punishment out of anger and emotion, you're basically trying to force a child into fear to do what you want them to do. And sometimes it's almost like you're actually fighting with your child instead of assaulting them, instead of just basically giving them a simple spanking and so forth. And a lot of times in research with people who utilize corporal punishment exclusively, they act it out in emotion, and they act it out in ways and to try to force their children to do it out of fear instead of teaching them the importance of why they should be doing something. So that usually is one of the biggest reasons why corporal punishment is not as effective as other behavioral strategies and other reward and punishment type strategies that could be implemented, is because parenting is about teaching, not necessarily punishment. So we have to look at that, as far as in our community, as what are we teaching our children? It's not always about punishing them for doing right and wrong, but am I teaching you to function effectively in whatever environment that you're in? And that's what needs to be looked at.
Right. And I actually wanted to like kind of touch on um singlehood of young Black women.
Mm-hmm.
So um viewing the level of singlehood, it points to how many Black women have mothers and grandmothers who discouraged them from dating or had an active hand in destroying their marriage or relationship.
Okay.
And I'll just say, like, when Black women or Black youth date around, even if you're not having sex, um, you seen as like fast or being a hoe and things like that, because for some reason in the Black community, if you're entertaining multiple men, people automatically assume that you're sleeping with all of them. I don't
Right.
know what it is. I mean, some women too, because it's a lot of hoes out there, but that's not necessarily the case for everybody, and definitely not the case when you're a teenager and you're trying to find yourself, discover what you like and don't
Right,
like,
right.
things like that. So what are your thoughts as far as the aspect of like dating in our community?
Okay. Well again, that also is another example of when we look at the black mother that's raising. There's a difference in how that is being navigated um when we assess the treatment of their daughters versus their boys. Their boys are given way more leeway to do a lot more stuff that they shouldn't be doing, and the girls are necessarily, and unfortunately, like in there are a particularly in urban areas, and I've seen and heard this myself, whether it's family members going in grocery stores, going into the hood in homes, doing home-based related services. There is a there's a healthy percentage of African American mothers who will refer to their daughters with the B word or the H word
Yes.
in their react in their discipline of them, or just casual language. And the fact of the matter is that um they are more harsher, in my opinion, with the females, with the girls, than they are with the boys. The boys get way more leeway to as far as doing the same exact behaviors, and the girls will be called and will be disrespected and will be, emotionally affected by the fact that their own mother is calling them these types of words. And so this 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 is something from us, just from a national standpoint with us, something that needs to be brought more to light. And I think that black mothers need to be held accountable for that verbal assault that you put on your girls like that. And the
Right.
fact of the matter is that um in previous generations, um we've had a high level of teenage pregnancy up until now. This generation is like the first generation that we really had low levels. The millennials, they're not getting pregnant like that in our community. But in previous generations, particularly me growing, I'm 44. I grew up in the 80s, late 80s, 90s as a teenager.
I'm
That
an
was
80s baby too.
Oh, okay. There were a lot of girls getting pregnant by older boys or men, and so forth. And um that was generational. Like their grandmother was a teen mother, mother was a teen mother, grandchild is now a teen mother, and so forth. So yeah, there is a difference um and the expectation of what young girls should be doing if they decide to date. Like you just stated, just because you're dating or just getting to know somebody, even if it's several guys, I don't really there's really nothing wrong with that. But because we have the mentality in our community, we're assuming they're having sex,
Right.
and
And it's so annoying. Like, it wasn't even like my mother or like my parents who had this type of mentality, but even like old people at the church, they, and this is one of the reasons why I kind of denounced Christianity for a long time. A few years ago I just started back like going to church and things like that, which I
hmm
still don't believe in religion.
okay.
But growing up in Louisiana and going to church, they
Are you
wanted to.
Catholic or Baptist?
I'm Baptist. My
Okay.
mom, and that's kind of finicky because I'm actually
Because
both.
Oh, you Catholic again? Because that's we have a strong Catholic presence, and then there's a lot of Baptists, and you know how they go down.
Yes. And like, I don't know which one is worse because my mom was Catholic before she married my dad. My
hmm
dad refused to go to instruction and she converted from Catholicism to Baptist. And like the Baptist people are no better. They judgmental and they always talk shit.
And they
Uh,
missing.
yes. And I lived in Minden, Louisiana. And like we used to have like the elders in the church or whatever, and they used to think that they could talk to you any kind of way. And like if your skirts wasn't below the knee, you was being a Jezebel. And they didn't mind telling you what
Oh
they
yeah, yeah, yeah.
these judgmental point of views, and they were so far-fetched and so far off, and that may not have even been the case.
Right,
And I wasn't like a major dater, because I was like in high school and all of that. My parents didn't really instill into me like date to get married and all of that. And like even in college, I know some people parents, teach them to find a husband in college and all of that. But
right.
like my parents, thank God, um they gave me a lot of room to spread my wings and to let me learn who I was, instead of like pressuring me into marriage and things like that. Now I made a few dumb mistakes along the way, and it's a lot that I wish that I would have did differently. Like my mom made me go to LSU, and I wish I would have went to Spelman.
Oh, they made you go to LSU? Oh wow.
Yes, my mom is LSU alumni.
Oh, okay.
Um,
She wanted to keep you in state. But
yes.
in Louisiana, there's a lot of situations where a lot of parents, they don't like their children leaving. They don't like them leaving. They like to try to keep their
Yes.
children close as long as they can. I mean, I've seen it a lot where a lot of people stayed home because their parents wanted them to stay.
Well, going into a different place is scary, and especially seeing how things are in New Orleans, because I mean, New Orleans, it may not still be the murder capital, but like,
Oh, now Chicago took that.
yeah, but like the way that things are here, I am extremely terrified of my son being out of my sight. Now, he's only 12, but he wants to study architecture, and he wants to go to Rice University. And I'm gonna buy a house out there if that's still what he wants to do by the time he gets 18. But that's gonna be like our second home. And my sister Robin lives in Houston.
Okay.
So I'm definitely gonna be having her to do like some pull-ups and stuff, because I'm terrified. And crime happens everywhere.
Right.
I'm terrified of like my son being like killed, or so, like being in some type of tragic accident.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
a
can
lot
understand
of,
that.
yeah, like a lot of black families, especially in New Orleans, have to deal with that type of trauma. So I
Right.
can understand not wanting your kids to go far.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, you just our job is to just have an influence on them where they make good decisions and don't be around the wrong type of people and things like that. And that's what's was within our power as parents to make sure that we can instill with them the values that they need, and they be able to think for themselves and be independent, because a lot of kids who get into stuff, they're followers, so
Yeah.
um they follow other people. So but yeah, but I also think, again, as we're talking about black mothers and so forth, um you know our community, um because there's such a large percentage of women who are single mothers and who are unmarried being single mothers. It has become a part of our culture, unfortunately, that women are heading these households. And but we have to look at the outcomes of that, and the outcomes are not good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's another thing I wanted to discuss, because you know how I was just saying how some mothers or grandmothers, discourage black women from dating, or, had a hand in destroying their marriage. Um, like if they aren't married or never been married, like they don't prioritize having a healthy marriage or having a healthy long-term relationship. And it's no guarded secret. It's a well-known fact that more than half of young black women are single and have never been married. So
Facts.
these are the type of women that I wouldn't take advice from. Now, my parents have been married for 53 years. And even with that, like, I don't tell my mama shit about what goes on in my marriage.
Okay.
Like, you have to, and I mean, nothing bad happens. Like, my husband and I hardly even argue. Like, we don't have those knockdown, drag out fights or anything like that. But you don't want to involve anybody else because you don't want to have that negativity in your ear when it comes to like your marriage or your relationship.
I agree. And one thing that I promote in doing family therapy is that you don't allow third parties to influence your relationship.
Right.
In many situations, particularly in our community, like mothers are for some reason, good or bad. I'm not telling, and I want people to understand. I'm not saying you should not go to your mother for advice or guidance, but there should be a limit to that, and you should not allow a person to be influential in the decisions of your household. Those are two different things. And in our community, unfortunately, um in our community we kind of go a fine line with that. There's a gray area with that because there are relationships where mothers try to influence relationships as if they're in it,
Yeah.
controlling. It's almost like they have an entitlement towards their child to dictate what they're supposed to do in their own household, and there are countless examples of that.
Yeah. Um, I think, well, it's a lot of work that needs to be done. It's a lot of generational trauma, and not just on the females. I don't like um black men feeling like they're excluded because I don't be wanting no smoke. I ain't got time to be arguing with nobody in the damn comments.
Right.
But like we have to attack these problems from both sides in order to see change. Because I'm tired of like the dysfunction, and I'm tired of like the stereotypes and all of that crazy mess. But
Hmm.
I also wanted to discuss um like what would be some solutions. Many black women fail to realize how their mothers or grandmothers abuse, emotional or physical, have actually destroyed them from the inside out. And um what is something that they can implement? I know everybody has like self-care routines,
Right.
this
Right.
and
Right.
that. And I know
Well,
not a lot of people go to therapy.
right.
Um, but we as a people have some trauma.
Right.
What do you think could be some things to like kind of try to help us heal, or like what can we do in the community to be able to, well, help each other? Which I know some black people like, okay, that's this Negro problem, that ain't
Okay.
my problem,
Right. Right.
and things like that. But
As it relates to that, it has to start with us first. Okay. You and in starting with that first, you have to do the work for yourself. And yes, it can involve a lot of things. It's going to involve things that are going to make you uncomfortable. Okay.
yeah,
And the person that you need to work for, like, meaning when you're doing the work is not just done with you. The work is also done with the mother, the aunt, the grandmother, who all had an influence in that. So it's going to make some things comfortable, uncomfortable. So
And that's if they're willing to participate, because
Yes,
there's still a stigma in the black community when it comes to like mental health stuff and
yes,
therapy.
yes, yes. It is. What I will say is this: in the communities that I've worked in Texas, I've seen a subtle openness to therapy as opposed to the way it was 2020. But it's still not. It still ain't where it needs to be. By no means. It's still a lot of hesitancy about therapy, but there is a slight openness to people realizing. Unfortunately, people come to therapy as a last resort.
Yeah.
When things go really bad, then they all of a sudden like, okay, I've exhausted, I've exhausted our resources, so now we're going to do therapy instead of using that as the first option. They use therapy as the last option. So, as far as tools, um, what I would encourage people to do is when you have done the work for yourself, you tell your story to those that are close to you or those that know you or and so forth that may have similar experience, and you use your example of what you did to heal and do better, and then that can also propel another person to want to do the same. And so to me, I think that in essence, open communication and open to disclose to those that you trust and know, and then develop those relationships with these women where you all can both focus. It's kind of almost like a support group in which you all have similar situations, similar experiences, and you all can help each other in regards to problem solving, decision making, emotional regulation, regulating, and so forth, and just how to just navigate um, within the community itself with those relationships with mothers, grandmothers, and so forth, that these things have occurred. Because for the most part, there's a large percentage of our community that has this issue. So that's not hard. It's not going to be hard to find other people that probably had some level of toxicity with their parents, or at least one parent. So it's not like you got to go looking in like a needle for in a haystack. It's very visual and easy to see in our urban communities or wherever a large percentage of us concentrate. So I would start with self first, and then also for those that are similar, that have similar situations and backgrounds, offer your story as a way to inspire others to want to get better, and then you go from there. Um, and as it relates to those parents and family members that you say that may not want to participate, for those that don't want to participate, I would say you can't force people to participate. If they're unwilling, let it go. But for
Right.
those that do want to participate, you open arms to them and allow them to go on that journey with you. So you're not gonna get everybody. And I think one of the biggest things is that we're not going to help everybody. You're not gonna, and we have a thing where we want to hold on to the bad no matter what. And we gotta let bad people out. I'm not saying you can't
Yes.
love them, but you cannot hold on to bad luggage. You got to let that luggage go and lighten up your life. And doesn't mean you can't interact with them. Doesn't mean that you can't be involved with things. You're just not gonna have that conversation until they willing to have that conversation. So I say communicate and with those that want to change and those that want to do better. And
Yeah.
as y'all tell y'all story, it becomes an inspiration to those who are similar, and they can use you all as a template to help themselves.
Yes, because let me tell you something. White people don't give a damn about cutting their mama off, their
Nope,
daddy off, or whoever when it
nope,
comes to their mental health.
nope. Sure
They
don't.
will be estranged from their family and happy and don't give a damn. But us black
We
people
hold on. We hold
will
on.
hold on, be miserable, and have to deal with these people around the holidays and this and that. I've gotten to a point to where like my happiness is everything.
Yeah.
I'm not about to be letting you tag along and make me miserable and be slick side hating and all that. Mm-mm.
See,
My friendship.
what you're basically describing is um the syndrome of the big mama syndrome. Big mama or Medea or grandma, whatever, that's what they did. They held on. They were so focused on holding things together that they stressed themselves holding on to people that they shouldn't have been holding on to, no matter how toxic they were, trying to
Mhm.
keep everything together, staying in marriages. A lot of the toxicity that goes on in regards to how black girls are raised is the fact that those previous generations held on in bad relationships and held on and stayed in those relationships no matter what, even if it meant them getting beat up and almost, getting beat to death. And children grew up seeing that. But in
Yeah.
that, without being able to have the proper therapy and so forth to heal from that, that anger went to other people. And you know who that anger usually the children caught the brunt of that anger.
Yep. I agree. Um, and let me just go ahead and share this clip because I know you said you didn't have a
No,
lot
go ahead, go
of
ahead.
time.
We're good.
Um, I wanted to show the Black China clip because this is the norm for a lot of Black people. When I saw this, I was just amazed at how Tokyo Tony was talking to her because um, everybody has like arguments or disagreements with their mom. But I was just flabbergasted at how like Tokyo Tony was like telling her, be y'all, lay you out, and stuff
Right?
like that because um I guess I'm like the child that is most like my mom, and we tend to argue and things like that. But it would never get to that point to where we cussing each other out and
Yeah, I could never curse my mom, my parents. I could never
yeah.
say a church word to my family.
Now I will like if I'm telling them about something that happened, I could say like the cuss words, but never directly.
Yeah,
Uh,
like derogatory towards them. Yeah,
yeah.
but I'm also curious to know how much older, because Tokyo, um, she don't look that old,
She's 52, I think. I know she's in her early 50s.
and
So she
China is
was
like
really
30. What? She's in
young.
her 30s, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because she didn't look that much older than her. I mean, not that much. Oh, I mean, she didn't look that old, is what I'm saying. Because China, because I know, the older girls, they're in their 40s.
Mm,
So the guy she was with, what was the son that she was dating? They were around the same age, so she got to be in her mid 30s.
yeah. Talking
She's
about Rob, who,
Yeah, Rob. Rob is like in his mid to late 30s. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, go ahead if you want to go ahead and play the clip. That's.
Okay.
You got problems. You need to get straight. You need a therapist. You need a therapist. Put that down. Don't blow that smoke in my face. Be a real one for 1 minute.
Well, it's you.
Okay, what my
It's you.
Back
It's
up.
fucking you.
Really?
It's you.
Okay, come back
It's
again.
fucking you. You're the problem. Get in my face.
Nobody took care of your ass but me. I'm ready to get the fuck ASAP after this shit.
5 days.
You put your hand in my face again, girl.
5 days.
You're gonna stretch your ass across this motherfucking kitchen. You better keep your motherfucking hands on my face.
5 days.
Don't touch me no more. You do it again, I'm gonna rock your world in this motherfucker.
So rock it.
Don't do that. Keep playing with me.
All right, bye.
Do it again, bitch. I'm gonna fuck
Get out
you
my
up.
house.
Bye, bitch.
Bye.
I'm gone. I hate you. Both the ass, bitch. The fuck? Get me the fuck out of here.
Wow.
Yes. I don't know. I think like if I was in a situation like that, I think I probably would have I think I probably would have clucked my mama upside her head and talked to me
You
like
know what I'm saying?
that.
What I'm gonna say is this: what I saw was years and years of some level of trauma, and what I'm gonna say is, um, it's a reason why Black China developed into what she is now.
Yeah.
And my thing is that when you have a mom that talked to you like that, I can imagine what she said when she was 15, 16 years old. She probably ran away. When you don't mind hitting your children, talking to them in an aggressive manner and so forth, um, that's a problem. So what I'm going to say is that, and the thing about it is, you can tell the way Black China responded to her. It was very easy for her to be in her face and say this and that, and she said she hated. That's obviously trauma that happened. Whether, and I'm gonna say this a lot of times, and I don't know the history between them, but a lot of kids get mad at their mothers like this when it involves something like physical abuse or sexual abuse, or the fact that they emotionally neglected them for a man or something like that. Those are usually
That
things.
was probably the case because I watched a couple of episodes during the series. That and Tokyo Tony never acknowledges when she's done something wrong,
Right,
which was like one of the other things I wanted to touch base on, but we'll follow that later because a lot of Black parents will do and say things and expect you. Hold on. Okay, will do and say things and expect you to, even when I'm right, I'm right. I mean, even
right,
when I'm wrong, I'm right.
yeah,
That's some shit that my mother says.
yeah,
Um, and not just her, but she got it from my grandfather. So that's like trauma that he had. Well, he passed down.
mm-hmm,
And I like personally, the way that I was raised in a good home. They ain't never teach me that shit. Like my mama never like taught me, they always taught me to fess up to my mistakes. If you do something wrong, apologize and things like that. Um, so that when um when I do wrong by people, it's no problem for me saying like, oh, I'm sorry I did that or anything like that if I was wrong.
right,
Well,
right,
not even if, like, even because sometimes people be feeling a certain way and you don't even feel like you did anything. But just for peace sake and to not have like constant conflict going on, I'll just go ahead and apologize and be done with it.
right, right.
But I mean, it's no, even if I'm wrong, I'm right. That shit don't even make sense to me.
Yeah, and see the overall theme is that in the African American community is there is a strict reinforcement of showing respect towards adults, and when you're talked, you shut up. You don't say nothing back. You listen, even if they wrong, like you stated. However, um, I think that may need to be restructured a little bit. Maybe a little. We may need to do some other. Because my thing is that you almost making it okay to be wrong. Like,
Yeah,
I know you're wrong. It's okay for you to be wrong just because you're older and you're my parent. Or that don't mean that I have to accept you being incorrect on things. And I think that
I, oh, I was gonna say I think it's already being restructured because the younger people are speaking out more now, going to therapy more now,
right,
and things like that. So hopefully within like years down the line, people in the Black community can like resolve this trauma that we have.
right, right, right. And I do think that this thing about, because I'm your parent, you have to listen. You have to that. I mean, that's fine. Yeah, you can be wrong and admit you're wrong, and I can say correcting your parent something or not agreeing doesn't necessarily have to mean a sign of disrespect. You can respectfully disagree, or respectfully not want to listen to something if you know for sure that that's not the correct way of doing things, or that may not be the correct solution. You know.
Right. Um, and I also wanted to discuss like the things black parents say. Um,
Okay.
Not too long ago, I came across these quotes on Facebook talking about like things all black parents say. Some of the quotes that stuck out to me were, I brought you into this world, I'll take you out.
Wow.
When we go into the store, don't ask me for nothing, don't touch nothing.
Okay.
You'd better shut up before I give you something to cry about.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make me get my belt. Stay out of grown folks' business. You better fix your face before I fix it for you. You think I'm playing with you? Keep talking and I'll knock the taste out of your mouth. I am the mama, you are the child. And those quotes were so common. That post got shared millions of times.
Oh wow.
So the first one I wanted to talk about was the one, I'm the mama, you are the child.
Mm-hmm.
That's the quote I hate most because not only from my mama, I hear a lot of black mamas quoting this. Yes, you the mother of the child. We know that. They know that. You are the absolute authority figure. But this does not mean, and this ties into what were just talking about. This doesn't mean that your child has no right to autonomy. It does not mean you can never be wrong. It does not mean that you have the right to be a domestic tyrant. You are supposed to be a mother and not a dictator. And one thing that black people do not do that other races do is listen to their child.
Nope.
The idea that as the parent you are perfect and infallible is one that I would love to watch die in the black community. I'm sick of that shit. I'm sick of it. And that one is quite personal for me. Because even when I talk to like my brothers, my older brother, it's 17 years between me and my brother, 18 years between me and my sister. And I talk to him and he'll know that my mom is wrong. My sister will know that my mom is wrong. And they give the excuse, oh, that's just how she is. Then why can't I be just how I am and say what the hell I feel? Um and I it's there is a certain respect there. And again, I did not have a horrible childhood. My parents probably let me express myself way more than most black parents, because they were pretty progressive in their parenting styles. I didn't get a lot of ass whoopings. And like the ones that I did get, I probably should have gotten more because a lot of shit I got away with. Like if my kids did, I probably would lock them in a room or something for a week without food. So I'm not saying that I had a horrible childhood, but my dad was born in 1949 and my mom was born in 1950. So this is like the parenting that they knew. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't really just like fault their parenting style or anything like that, because I grew up I'm very privileged. And I don't think I have like trauma per se, but a lot of things that I read and I hear other people discuss, I can relate to, and it's become like a normal thing um in our community.
Right, right, right. Yeah, and I do think that those are things that's that old school brand of parenting, and I do think that it is important to allow children to communicate, and I just think that I'm not saying that you can't. Um, I would say control like in terms of how the child should speak or when it's time to speak. You can pretty much establish that, but you have to let children express themselves and not just discount everything they say. And I had similar parentage. I mean, I was not allowed to say when I was told when I talk, you shut up, you don't say nothing, and I had to learn that, or there was going to be negative consequences. Or I only asked questions unless I was asked questions. I wasn't asked a question, and you know, there's a lot of things I didn't
Between
agree with.
spoken too.
Yeah, but out of respect, if anything you did out of bounds of that was considered disrespectful. So it's just what it was. Just what it was. Now for me, as far as my children, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of use an authoritative mode, but I do allow them to when I think it's necessary. Like I do value their opinion if things I need to know and so forth. I do give them a chance to at least give their side of
Yeah.
things. I allow that. When I was growing, I didn't have a side. What if an adult says something or whatever that was it. You can't say nothing. But I do allow my kids to at least give their. I may not agree. I may not believe them, but I do at least give them that ability to express their point of view. But also, I think that the importance of letting kids express themselves is a good social skill that
Yeah.
that parents miss out by not allowing them. You're actually killing their confidence to speak in adversarial situations. And I think that speaking to children as far as in a disciplinary form and so forth, or when they're being confronted, I think that allowing them to speak is a good social skill because they're going to have similar situations growing up as adults where in situations and not allowing kids to speak or not allowing them to think that their opinion matters is not necessarily the best thing long term.
Right. And another thing, let me get my little notes. Okay. It just amazes me how so many people have experienced this trauma and are okay with this being the acceptable standard.
Right,
And this is part of the reason why so many women are leaving home at an early age to escape the psychological and emotional prison that black mothers and black grandmothers have I guess put up on them.
right.
And I'm sure every black person can relate to the I brought you in this world, I can take you out. That is just as bad as the first quote, I'm the mama, you are the child, because those are threats of violence and um mental abuse. And usually they, even after you say that, they follow up with actual physical abuse.
Right.
And this is actually not normal. Um, it's not okay. And as a community, we have to get away from the idea that this is good parenting.
Mm-hmm.
There have been like decades of research that shows all across economic lines and racial lines that hitting children as a form of discipline is ineffective parenting.
Yeah.
Now, I also wanted to get into, and this, the second clip is
Yes.
not about the physical abuse, but it was like mental abuse. And this
For the
might be
kids,
the
for the
one,
children, because in the background, those kids were definitely affected by that.
yes. And it definitely like there are so many black men that get like dragged through the mud for being like a toxic father and this
Right.
and that, and not being as active in their children's lives. But when it was actually a black mother that painted this image of the black father being toxic and being abusive and all of that, um it's really heartbreaking. And I feel for anybody whose mother has like pushed their dad away and things like that, because I had my dad, and that is like one of the best. That's like one of the best. I can't even like imagine my life or like growing up without like my dad. Like I would be like,
Different situation.
yeah, like I couldn't even imagine, because majority of the things that I've learned and a lot of the intelligence I have is because, oh, my daddy come telling me, come read this to me. Come sit at the table, read this newspaper. You know what this word means? No, I don't know what that means, daddy. Oh, okay, get a dictionary, look it up and write it in a sentence for me. Like that's the type of dad that I have. My dad, and like I say, he was born in 1949. And like that was like right after civil rights and all of that. And let me just make this disclaimer. My dad is still in amazing health to be in his 70s. When I get that old, I hope I'm still in that type of health, because like my daddy will do 2 miles. Journey, I'm about to put you out. My daddy will do 2 miles exercising and won't blink an eye. I'm
Wow.
I'm in my 30s, and if I do 2 miles, I'm ready to pass out on the couch. Like I have a treadmill here at home, and I barely can find time to like even walk on that. But my dad does at least 2 miles a day, and I'm sure like if he had a Fitbit or like an Apple Watch, it would probably be like 2 to 3 times that, as much as he's active.
Oh wow.
Like he still like runs and plays with the kids. His old butt will try to get out there and play basketball, baseball. He'll run behind them kids. And I'm just thankful that he is in the health that he's in, because it's a lot of people a lot younger than he is that's in wheelchairs. People that was younger than him in school, and he'd be like, damn, I'm older than them. And he'd be like, well, thank God for grace. But I'm just
Right.
gonna go to this clip, because in the clip, it really kind of like pissed me off at the
Mm-hmm.
mom, because she lied about the father like molesting the kids and this and that. Um, and like purposely cutting the father out of these kids' lives.
Right.
Not a deadbeat, but a man that wanted to be there. So let me go to screen share.
We're going to tell the truth. Mr. Monsell, in your lie detector test, you were asked, did you have any sexual contact with any of your 3 daughters? You said no. And the lie detector said there was no deception. Yes, they got it. How does that feel for you?
And that your daughters know it.
Well, I felt they always did know it.
You felt they always did know it. Mm-hmm. And didn't speak it because
they didn't know no better. They wasn't told no different.
Miss Yvonne took a lie detector test and said, did you make up or exaggerate any stories with the intention to harm Monsell? She responded no, and the answer was deceptive. Then he asked you, did you say something to the effect of, I'm going to make sure you're never happy again? She responded no, and the answer was deceptive. So Miss Yvonne has acknowledged that her story about you touching your children in a sexual way was not true. So Miss Yvonne, is there anything that you wanted to say to Mr. Monsell?
Why didn't you fight for him harder if you knew you didn't do it?
And what is it that he could have said that would have made you not believe the lie you were telling? Miss Yvonne, you told the lie. It was a lie, and you told it. And you gotta own it.
I'm sorry. I need you to say that you did not rape your girls. I need to hear it come out your mouth the way I've always heard it, Ma.
I apologize for accusing you of raping them. Please forgive me.
You don't have to forgive him. You don't have to.
I cannot accept your apology because it's not sincere. Deep down, I know that you didn't believe that. You knew I had no sexual desires for my children. For 25 years, this thing has broken me. I don't know. It has affected my life in ways I can't even count. The things that you did. This is not no game. This is these children's lives. And it's just a demon in you that you need to deal with.
I don't think I would have even been able to handle that situation as gracefully as he did. I really think I probably would have strangled her. Like, why in the hell? This just go to show how women be so caught up in their own agenda. These toxic ass mothers trying to cut this man. Because look, black men are the most active fathers than any other race. Let's just put that out there. I've read the statistics. And let's be clear. A lot of the black men that are the so-called deadbeats are mistakes of the mother that are having kids by like the same man.
Right.
So basically he has a baby over here, a baby over here, a baby over here, and you got one on the way.
Right.
If you done chose Ray Ray and Pookie, who else can you be mad at? But nonetheless, the point is, according to statistics, black men are the most active fathers. And this woman purposely created this lie to try to keep this man out of his children's lives. And I'm sure it has happened more often than not. Because I watch Young used to, because she did like her final season or whatever. But just from watching those episodes, I grew up in the bubble. I ain't gonna lie. A lot of the things that she brought onto the show and, you know, exposed the public to. I think those are like, I'll just say poverty problems, like people on the lower socioeconomic status spectrum,
Right.
or like single people problems. And like I just couldn't relate. I was amazed. I couldn't imagine like somebody purposely creating a lie like that to keep a father away from their kids. And a lot of times that's just what it is. Like the women be bitter, the mothers, and um just just to keep the father away from the kids. And it ends up um affecting all of the children and passing down generational trauma.
I agree. Um, there's so many things behind that where when those relationships don't work, um, children are used as a crutch against the father, or they're used as a tool to make somebody lack of interacting with them to make somebody else miserable. And to me, the whole stem of this issue between that man and his wife and his ex-wife is the fact that they didn't work out. And when he decided to leave or move on or whatever, she made it a point, like the daughter said, I'm gonna make sure you're never happy.
And this was 25 years ago. I
Right?
know it may not seem that long ago, but like in the 80s, that's where like the famous saying come from, mama baby, daddy maybe. People fail to realize that these DNA tests and lie detector tests are like a recent technology.
Right?
And for people that haven't seen the whole episode, the mom put one of the daughters in foster care because she wouldn't testify against the dad, saying that he sexually abused her.
Wow.
They ended up at the beginning of the episode, they ended up putting on these t-shirts, Team Mom, Team Dad, and one of the little girls, Whitney, one of the sisters, was like Team Truth. So Nicole was on Team Dad and Brittany was on Team Mom, and Brittany, well, it was a Brittany and a Whitney, but nonetheless, one was Team Mom and one had Team Truth on the shirt. And this woman, the mother, created all this strife or whatever, but there was no way to prove it back then. Or it was, like when stuff first come out, it's extremely expensive, and a lot of black people don't have the resources that other races have financially to be able to pay for the services.
Right?
So yeah, that was like I wanted to reach through the screen and choke her.
Yeah. And the thing about it, she still don't think she did something, even though that was a fake ass apology. I hate to say it. That
It
apology, she showed no emotion, no remorse. She knew that man never did that, and she's still caught up that man left her. He's no
Right.
longer with her. Her mind is still on that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and then talking to my nail tech slash bestie, we were talking about that today, like how a lot of these older women are bitter, and even mothers have to watch their children around and be cautious of like who you're allowing your children around, because it doesn't necessarily have to be like male female um type of incidents. Like it could be female and jealous, people putting trash in the other people's minds and being a negative influence in their lives, even if it like isn't their mother. It could be someone they view as like a godmother or something like that.
Right.
Putting this stuff into their minds and like creating these toxic behaviors.
Exactly. So yeah, that's a big dynamic in that family. Those children had to grow up where they knew they were not, and their mom was continuously trying to program them to say that their dad did something that he didn't do, and you could just see as she was saying that the way those kids were responding and reacting, the pain because they knew that they had a good father, and this woman constantly and let's say let's put it. I'm just gonna put it mildly. I guarantee this woman spoke ill of this man day after day after day after day, no
They
matter
should put
what.
her ass in jail for defamation of character and making false reports because he said the police were involved in this incident and everything. He was never prosecuted because it was never proven that he had abused the kids, but that's traumatizing to go through something like that.
Yeah, that is
So
that
they should
is.
have arrested her ass.
Yeah, she should have been held accountable for what happened. She should have been held accountable. No doubt.
Yep. But
So
that pretty much sums everything up. Did you have any final thoughts on the subject that you wanted to share?
well, I'm gonna just say this that last video really summed up what we were talking about because that to me, I remember seeing that for the first time when when that video first came out when Iana had her show, and I was just like, wow, because I've been in situations where people were falsely accused of
Right.
things. Now the situation that I've dealt with, they were usually teenagers that lied on purpose. It wasn't a mother lying. It was usually kids lying because they didn't like the dad or something, and they just wanted him to leave and so forth. But I know I have seen firsthand how a person feels when somebody admits the fact that they lied and how that can affect someone.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen. But what I can also, I hope that they're probably still processing this. This is something for him. 25 years, he may they may be civil, but he is going to be affected by that for the rest of his life. It's going to be hard for him to
Yeah.
just, even if she apologized and it's genuine, from his perspective, what I can say, I forgive you, but what is that going to really change from the past?
Right. And he was even honest and said, I do not forgive you.
Yeah, because he could have went to jail.
Right.
So, but other than that, I mean, it was a wonderful live stream. I love your topics. I definitely like your topics and so forth, and I appreciate you for I got the email late because I was checking my email after I finished working. Then I said, "Oh, she want me to come up." I said, I got time. I got a few things I had to do, so if we could do 8:30." I mean, I said I basically had an hour to spare, so it wasn't a big deal. So
Yes.
yeah,
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that because I am a last minute kind of girl as far as YouTube. I'm trying to get better
right.
because like real estate and all that like pretty much consumes
Oh
my
yeah, that's a time consuming thing. Real estate, man. I remember because I just bought a house. I just bought my last house back in 18, and we went through. Oh my God, we actually bought the last house that we looked at, the very last house, and we stumbled upon an area code that we didn't even know existed.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, we didn't even know it was. It's in an unincorporated part of Houston that's actually part of Pearland, and we didn't even know this area code existed. And we found a very nice neighborhood that we in. I mean, we were supposed to live in Shadow Creek Ranch. That was that's where we had like 3 houses over there that we were going to buy, that we were looking at buying. But the last house we saw over here, that when we walked in, we knew that was the house. So we went through a lot. We got with a bad mortgage company, and the real estate person, she gave us a person at first, but they were kind of, I don't know, the person that we was working with financing wise. Then Hurricane Harvey came about, and it changed the whole market. It changed the whole market in Houston, and so we end up like going through some stuff, and then she gave us another person, and they had us financed in 2 weeks. So and so we was good, and so we went through that, but it was for a reason. But we ended up getting the house we really wanted, But man, the paperwork y'all got to go through, the drive, the going. Y'all work 7 days a week. Y'all Sunday, Monday,
Yes,
y'all work every day, man. That's a job. That's
it
a job.
is. A lot
Yeah.
of people think it's easy money, but
Oh no. Real estate is work.
it
Real
is.
estate is. I've seen her work, and she got paid, and I'm glad we paid her. We had a black realtor, and she got paid for the house because we sold the house and then bought, and so she was part of both of those exchanges, and so she did pretty good. She made a lot of money off of us.
Yeah. And that's what we're going to have to deal with. And like, I'm in my garage right now. My husband works from home and he gets off late sometimes. So he's like, you be too loud, get in the garage. And I'm like, all right, whatever. But we're getting ready to sell this house. And I'm trying to find something already on the market that I want. But if we can't find exactly what we're looking for, we're going to have to build. Because, like, we have a large family.
Okay.
We need a 5 to 6 bedroom. We got
Oh
4 kids.
wow. Oh, that's big.
Yeah, we got 4 kids. Um, but I mean, I'm not in a rush. The market is supposed to be like sloping down a little bit this year, but I also
Mhm.
know that interest rates
Are
are
going up.
supposed to go up a bit.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to find something this year, but if not, it's cool. Whatever.
Yeah,
I'm not.
we actually have a 5 bedroom, uh 4 bath, and it's a pretty big house. It's almost about 39, a little over 3,900 square feet. It's pretty nice size house. But you don't see, I don't think I saw, matter of fact, I probably saw maybe one or maybe 2 or 3 6 bedroom houses. I saw 5. They had 5 and 4 bedroom, but 6, that's a lot. You may have to turn an office. Now, what you could do if one was an office or something, or like, how they have the little office room or something, you may have to do that, but you know.
But see, the thing is, now that you mentioned square feet, my husband saw this house that was 5,000 square feet for 280,000, and now he doesn't want to go below that. So he's like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
I don't blame him. I would be this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was the same way. It was a certain amount of money that I would not go, because now you're looking at um quality. You're looking at
right.
how old the house is. You know stuff. Men, we think about that. Like stuff with the upkeep. And so you don't know if it's if So you get what you pay for. You know what I'm saying?
You do,
I mean, but
definitely do."
New Orleans. I mean, Louisiana housing prices are not crazy. It's pretty decent.
I would say anywhere else in Louisiana, but New Orleans is fucking ridiculous.
Oh,
Like
is New Orleans ridiculous? Okay.
the old school shotgun house.
I know you're talking about the stuff that's close to the districts and stuff. Yeah,
Even like in the Ninth Ward, and like that's the fucking ghetto.
right.
Bywater and all of that. They're causing, and then like white people moving into New Orleans East,
Yep.
and they're causing the property
Taxes go up.
values to go up. And
That's on purpose.
the old shotgun houses are being priced at 500 and 600,000, and I can't hang like that because my
Nah.
max is 450,000.
Right.
So
Right.
that's that.
Yeah, see, they do that on purpose because when you see white people flocking somewhere in the prop, they trying to price people out because they know they can't afford those high ass taxes.
Right.
So and then you start seeing gentrification and everything else.
And it's happening all over the city.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Well, you gonna find what you know.
So let me go back to my little notes because I did some previous notes. I'll just go ahead and say that the behavior techniques that we discussed as far as like emotional abuse, corporal punishment, making you feel guilty for dating and things like that, that is not normal. If you've internalized it to be so, that's typically a coping skill when people don't want to acknowledge that things are wrong, which that only happens in the Black community. But I digress because I'm not here to argue.
Right.
I know it's hard to hear, but I am trying to break generational curses while not breaking my children down in the process and leaving them with lifelong trauma. We
Facts.
need to do better, and our children deserve that. So
Facts.
that's the end thought of
All right.
that.
Well, appreciate you for having me on. You have a good night.
You too. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.
Peace.
And thanks for joining me, you guys. If you're just tuning in, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Talk to you soon.